Hello and welcome back to the Murphy Family Kitchen. I'm Jim Murphy and today we are going to smoke a brisket. So I have my brisket here. It's about a 13-pound piece of meat. This is a flat brisket, it's not a full brisket. Full brisket would have the flat plus the point, which is a thicker, heavier, fatter piece on here, which is delicious. But it takes longer to smoke. I don't need all of that for the project that I'm working on, so we're going to use this today. I'm going to get this opened up and we're going to trim it. We're going to season it. We're going to let it sit out for a while and then we're going to smoke it. So I got the brisket out of the wrapper and laid out on this tray right here, and we're going to go ahead and trim this up. So you can see this is a big piece of meat. There's quite a bit of fat on it. We're going to trim it to about 1/4 of an inch of fat. We're going to take off all of the edges that could burn on us. So we're going to start right here. This will make a really nice burn end if that's what you were making, and but we're not going to do that today. We're going to smoke this brisket. As we go through, we're going to see that there's this layer of fat here, and we're just going to cut into it just a little bit. We want to leave about 1/4 of an inch. Anything more than that is likely too fatty to render off, and anything less than that could result in a dry piece of meat. So it's better to get it all off as much as possible. Some of it's kind of tough and you want that off of here. This end is going to come off right there anyway. It's another spot that is very likely to burn on us. And so we're going to trim that right here. And this meat is good meat. There's nothing wrong with it, and you can use it for anything else. Actually, a lot of times with these scraps, my dogs love them. I'll cook them up a little bit and give it to them, so they get to enjoy it as well. But we just take this off, clean it up as best we can. You can see it's a thicker layer here. Just get into it a little bit. Don't go too deep. If you do go too deep though, and you see a little bit of meat when you're finished, that's okay. It's not going to hurt anything unless you took the entire piece off. See, sometimes you just get to a spot where you can't help but get the meat, so that's not a problem. We just want to get off of here what we can. Keep it cleaned up and looking good. A lot of this will render off. We want it to render through the meat. Actually, there's this big hunk of hard fat right here that is really not good for much of anything, so we're going to take that piece off as well. Seems like we're taking a lot off of this, but if you don't, you end up with something that you weren't hoping for when you got started. So it really is good to trim these up properly. Anything hanging off that looks like it might burn on you, you just want to clean that up a little bit. And same thing on the other side. We're going to flip it over just to see what we look like here. There's an edge here that doesn't look that great, so we're going to go ahead and take that. Much better, much better. All right. And then some of the silver skin on the back, you can trim this off if you want to. It's not that big of a deal. It'll make you crazy. If you start dealing with it and you think you got to get it all, you could trim this all day long to get that off of there. But it won't hurt anything. It will mostly render off on the smoker. We're going to cook it with this side down anyway on the heat. So I just want to make sure we don't have anything that's going to be hanging off and burning on us. And that looks pretty good. We're going to go with this. Here we go. All right. Very good. The next thing we want to do is get our seasoning on it, our rub. And so all I use is a mixture of 50% salt and 50% pepper. That is a Texas style rub. I don't add anything else to it. You want to get the flavor of the meat, enhance it with the salt and pepper, let it cook, get a really nice bark on it, and it will be delicious when you're through. So we're going to go ahead and get this covered in rub. Make sure to get the edges on these. You want that bark around the whole thing. It's very important. And then give it a nice coating of rub. It's a pretty dense piece of meat. You can take it. Make sure again to get the edges, like I said. And then we'll flip this over, get the other side. I don't put anything else on here. I don't put any oil or any other mustard or anything. A lot of people do a lot of different things. I just put this rub directly on the beef itself. I just want to get that beef flavor enhanced with the salt and pepper and not add a lot of other things to it. It's a great piece of meat and I like to keep it that way. That's just my preference. Everybody likes things a little bit different, and that's okay. So we have that looking really good. And what we're going to do now is we're going to let this sit out probably an hour to an hour and a half and let that rub really soak into the meat. And then after that, we'll put it out on the smoker. So it's time now to take this outside to the smoker. And before we do that, we are going to set it up with this thermometer, digital read thermometer that is wireless and has a remote that I can carry around with me. Has an alarm that I can set, tells me when the meat is at the temperature that I set it to. And this way I don't forget about it and I don't miss the critical times of wrapping this. So first thing I'm going to do is take the probe that comes with it here, and I want to stick it in the thickest part of the meat, which is right up in this area. So I'm going to go right through the middle here and right into the middle of this big piece. And when that gets to the right temperature, I know the rest of it is done. And so it has this little transmitter. We're going to plug it into the transmitter and set it up outside. Now when I get outside to the smoker, we're going to put this on at 250 degrees. We're going to try and keep the smoker at about between 250 and 275. I don't want to go any higher than that. As far as time goes, I think this will go for about 6 hours, but I really don't measure by time when I'm smoking meat anymore, with very few exceptions. I go by the temperature. I've missed the opportunity too many times to get the meat done right where it needs to be by watching the clock and not watching the temperature. So I've learned my lesson there. Some days it goes faster than others. We'll just see how it is today. I'm going to put this out there when the internal temperature is 150 degrees. I'm going to go out and wrap it in butcher paper and then put it back on the smoker, and we're going to let it continue to cook until it gets to 200 degrees, and then we'll take it off and let it rest. It'll continue to go up a little bit. It'll probably peak out at about 205, which is the absolute perfect temperature for it. We'll let it sit in the wrapper for a while and reabsorb the juices that come out of it, and then it'll be time to slice it up. So let's go ahead and head outside, and we'll get this on the smoker. Well, we're outside now at the smoker, and we're ready to put this meat on. The smoker's all set. It's all heated up. As always, I have my water can going here. And so we have this probe in the thicker part of the meat. This is the hot side of the grill. This is the cooler side of the grill. We want to put the thinner piece on the cool side, the thicker piece near the warmer side, and that should give us a more even distribution of smoke and heat, and cook the whole thing at about the same time, so the whole piece of meat is ready when it's finished. So we have the meat on now, turned on my transmitter. We're just going to leave that sit here. It's going to communicate with the unit inside, and it will tell me when we are ready to do something different here. So for the time being, that's just going to sit here and smoke. We're going to come back out to it in about an hour, hour and a half, spray it with some apple cider vinegar, make sure we're keeping it good and moist, and then when it hits 150 degrees internal temperature, which I expect to be several hours from now, then we will wrap it up in butcher paper and let it continue. Well, we're back out at the smoker. It's been just a little over 2 hours since we put this on. I've checked it multiple times since we've started, just to make sure we're maintaining a temperature, and it's holding at a steady 250, which is perfect for us. So we're just going to take a look, see how we're doing. It looks really nice. You can see it's starting to get bark on it. Doing really well. The temperature right now is 114. We're going to spray it with some apple cider vinegar, just to make sure we keep it moist, and that helps it get a really nice bark on it. Our water can is still full, so we're good there. And we're going to close this up here in just a second and let it continue until it hits 150 degrees, and then we'll come back out and wrap it. I expect that'll happen probably another hour to hour and a half. Okay, it's been an hour and 15 minutes since we were last out here, and we have hit the magic number 150. I'm going to open this up here, take a look. I'm going to take it out. I always use a towel for this. I don't want to use any metal tools that potentially break the bark on it, just because I want to maintain the juices in the meat. I hope you can see that okay. That was really nice. So we're going to give this another little shot of the apple cider vinegar, wrap it up real good, stick it back inside until we get to 200 degrees. Okay, that looks really good. Wrapped up good and tight. I got a couple layers of paper here because I want to make sure that we hold on to all those juices that come out here as we're smoking. We're going to put it back on the heat. Tuck that under just so that it doesn't burn. And away we go. I'm guessing it'll take another hour and a half to 2 hours before it's through, but we'll check on it again. Well, here we are just a little over 6 hours since we put this on, and we finally hit 200 degrees internal temperature. So we're going to take this out. Be very careful. The bag is always full of juice and liquid. And so we're going to put that on our tray. And then carry it in the house to let it rest. Well, here we are. The brisket is rested now, and so it's time for us to open the package and see how we did. It just falls apart because of all the juice that was in the wrapper. And you see that it has dried up quite a bit, so the meat has reabsorbed all of that juice. So we're just going to take this out, put it on the cutting board here. And this looks really nice. It has a really nice thick bark on it. It smells wonderful. We're going to take a couple of slices off here and see how we did. And that looks great. It's very nice. It doesn't fall apart. Has a nice smoke ring around it. Take a little taste. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you learned something today. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video. Thanks again. Bye.